This is Father Andrew Ritchie, and you're listening to Catholic Inspiration, a podcast from my website at studyprayserve.com. These homilies, presentations, and retreats form part of my ministry as a Catholic priest for the Diocese of Superior. And now I invite you to open your hearts to some Catholic inspiration. I'm a firm believer that the world needs more mentors. People who accompany us, walk with us, can be there that we can bounce ideas off of. They're there to help us grow. They're there to challenge us to grow. And they're there to give us honest feedback along the way. Perhaps you can think about some of the people who have been a good mentor for you. People who have really been present to you. They haven't given up, but they are there to cheer us on. When I was thinking about that for myself, I couldn't help but think of Father Ed Mullimans, former rector here at the Cathedral. Father Ed welcomed me the very first day I showed up in town. And that one magical year I had with him as his associate, I learned a lot. But I learned a lot because Father Ed took the time. When I had questions, he said, "Sit down, have a cup of coffee." I knew he had work. He knew he had work. But he made time. And as I would pick his brain about certain topics and certain issues and what to do, and he would share his perspective, he'd also ask me my perspective about a problem or an issue. He always wanted to know what the young guys were reading in theology. He wanted to know what we were studying. He wanted to compare it with the books he had read 40 years before. But we would talk and we would visit, and I learned a lot about what he said. But that entire year, I also watched what he did. Because it's one thing to talk the talk, it's another to walk the walk. And I saw how hard the man worked when we were done with what happened in church. And I would see what he would be doing, going up to the hospitals, visiting people, stopping in to anoint people who were sick, going over to the nursing home. And then, of course, the administrative work that never ends. I watched what he did. It was very useful for me and very instructive for me to be really close to a seasoned pastor so that I could hear what he had to say, but then observe how he put into practice what he taught. All of this is just by way of explanation of this incredibly insightful second reading from the first letter of St. Peter. This is chapter 3, verses 15 to 18. Sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts. Always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. But do it with gentleness and reverence, keeping your conscience clear. So that when you are maligned, those who defame your good conduct in Christ may themselves be put to shame. Be ready to talk about the faith, but live the faith. Be ready to respond when people want to know more about Jesus, but keep our actions fixed on Christ. What a powerful, practical way for us to live. And what a powerful way for us to be mentors to one another. For it's not just the people who've helped us, but friends, it's how do we help the people that come before us? How are we mentors to the next generation? How do the words that we say build one another up? And how are the actions that we carry out reflective of our love for Jesus, the very body and blood, soul and divinity that we receive in Holy Communion, translated into our actions out in the world? That people see Christ in what we do. And when they ask us what we do, we talk about Jesus in what we say. The Gospel of John makes it clear that if we love the Lord, then we're going to carry out His commandments. And that Whoever has the commandments of Jesus and observes those commandments is the one who loves him. We do that, folks, by when we live our faith and then defend our faith and speak about our faith. When we are examples, models, mentors. It's no surprise that this is Mother's Day weekend. And therefore, we also look to the very women who helped us along the way. That we pause to reflect for a moment about our moms. And in doing so, remember what they did for us. As I said at the beginning, I believe in the core of my heart, we need more people, more mentors to walk with others in this life. And if we're going to put into practice this first letter of St. Peter, if we're going to put into practice the commandments of Jesus, then friends, we live the faith and we share the faith. Which means that we can pause for a moment to think about who are the people God has set in our life right here and right now. Who are the people before us that we can lend that helping hand, that we can give that uplifting word, that we can be an example of faith so that when they ask and when the conversation arises, we are ready to talk about Jesus. Not in some special theology, but from our hearts. That the faith that we practice here inspires how we live out there. And how we live out in the world becomes an opportunity to bring people closer to Christ. God bless you all. This is Father Andrew, and I hope this podcast inspires your faith. Now, if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend. And you can help me by leaving a rating and a review. I keep all my listeners in my daily prayers, and I ask for your prayers in return. God bless you, my friends.